Retirement from wrestling is like breaking up from a long-term relationship. Most have good intentions and manage to pull it off with dignity and grace by moving on to better and brighter things, while others do it, realize the error of their ways, and run straight back. In some cases, they just keep running back over and over and over again. Truth is, wrestling offers that which few can experience outside of the industry: pure ecstasy. So while it may leave many a man and woman beaten and broken both physically and mentally, the possibilities regarding crowd reactions and history-making moments make for one of the most addictive professions in the world. There's a reason why they all say, never say never. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic.com, and this is 10 wrestlers who couldn't stay retired. Join us! Number 10, Ricky Steamboat. The iconic star who had main evented many a WCW pay-per-view opposite iconic champion Ric Flair in the latter years of the 80s had retired due to back issues in the early 90s, so it came as a surprise when he stepped back into the ring in the mid-2000s. At the time, working independent events in his early 50s, Steamboat was given his final shot on the big stage by WWE when he left everyone in awe of his maintained technical ability and timing during a match with Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 25. His return to the ring may have been shorter and less impactful in many ways than others on this list, but was no doubt memorable and unforeseen, a last goodbye for a wrestler more than deserving. Number 9, JBL. It's John O'Clock, mother flippers. It's no secret that some of us here at Cultaholic have had our fair share of issues with the big sweaty women-loving John Bradshaw Layfield in the past. His off-screen antics and on-screen refusal to acknowledge them have made him one of the more disliked WWE employees in recent years. While an active wrestler, he earned the respect of others mostly by beating them senseless, and sometimes being pretty good, but mostly just beating them senseless. For real. Like a real fight. But in wrestling. In 2006, we and many a WWE wrestler past and present thought his reign as locker room bully had come to an end, but alas, the great mistress of professional wrestling was able to lure him back for a short run in 2008 to 2009, where he completed the Grand Slam of WWE titles and had matches on 2 WrestleManias, the second being his final retirement versus Rey Mysterio in one of the shortest Mania matches in history at WrestleMania 25. Unlike many on this list, Layfield was given the opportunity to retire in his own state, on the grandest stage WWE has to offer, following a title match with one of his best friends. And maybe that just doesn't sit right with us. Number 8, Trish Stratus. Perhaps the most iconic female wrestler in the history not to have her name tainted by backstage scandal, Trish Stratus ended her original run as a WWE wrestler in 2006 when she was given the fitting ending to her barrier-breaking run, retiring with the Women's Championship against long-term rival and real-life friend Lita at that year's Unforgiven pay-per-view. Like many a retiree on this list, it didn't take too long for Trish to make an in-ring return, however, partnering with John Cena on Raw in 2008 less than 2 years later, and making sporadic appearances ever since, the latest of which came as the final entrant in the 2018 Women's Royal Rumble. Like JBL, Trish even featured in a post-initial retirement WrestleMania match, best remembered for featuring Snooki and an awkward series of moments between Trish and male tag partner John Morrison. I mean, look at that. Just hug her, John. Hug her! Number 7, Bret Hart. When Bret Hart suffered a career-ending concussion and stroke at the hand, or more accurately boot, of Bill Goldberg on WCW Nitro in 1999, few could have foreseen him ever returning to the ring. Surely even the best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be wasn't good enough to overcome such physical barriers. Wrong. Well, sort of at least. Hart's long-awaited and hotly anticipated return to WWE had always loomed over the company and the Hitman's life, so it was only natural that it would begin a run that would see him return to in-ring action on multiple occasions. John Cena-inspired jean shorts and all. He even won the United States Championship. The most notable match of his post-Screwjob WWE in-ring return was his terrible, really terrible, WrestleMania match against Vince McMahon, where even an entire Hart family couldn't make up for the fact that both guys were way, way over the hill. Nevertheless, the heavily promoted match did give the Hitman another large payday and place closure upon one of the last incomplete wrestling sagas involving the WWE, thus becoming a fitting end to the real-life tensions between Vince and Bret, and giving a reason to Hart's awkward in-ring return. Number 6, Ric Flair. When Ric Flair took to WWE Raw in 2007 to proclaim he will never retire, woo, did anyone really think it meant anything other than a setup to his eventual retirement at the following year's WrestleMania? Flair sure did, because the Nature Boy, a man beloved for his obvious passion and love for wrestling as an industry and performance art, returned to the ring in Impact Wrestling. Rumours abound that he had been hard up for cash following years of frivolous spending. The truth is that it didn't come as a shock to anyone, because this was Ric Flair. The guy lived, breathed, and ate professional wrestling. He probably even gave it a ride on Space Mountain once or twice. The post-retirement in-ring action itself may have not been to the levels worthy of coming out of retirement for, and Flair would be the first to admit that it was hardly ideal circumstances through which to do so, but it ensured that Flair made it to our list, because while his return didn't take place in the WWE, it remains one of the most memorable to date. Number 5, Hulk Hogan. What is it with controversial wrestlers and their undying passion to hear one last arena-sized pop? Hulk Hogan is the sort of wrestler who would try to rewrite history by telling you he never retired. But when he left WWE in 2003 and didn't appear in the promotion until his Hall of Fame induction in 2005, it seemed pretty obvious what had happened. So, as we count it, in his short feud with Shawn Michaels that led to their infamous SummerSlam match in 2005, was the first instance of Hogan coming out of retirement. He would then appear at SummerSlam 2006, where he beat Randy Orton before leaving WWE altogether and starting his own touring brand. Even if you don't conform to the popular consensus, then Hogan's 2011 retirement in Impact Wrestling must surely be considered the real thing. I mean, he said it on TV. It was, of course, another instance in which he quickly turned the car around to return for a match against long-term rival Sting at Bound for Glory the same year, but this is to be expected from a man so big on self-promotion, he once claimed to be the first choice to star in Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler. The latest instance of Hogan retiring came in 2015 following his racism and sex tape scandals, but who knows whether that still stands. I'm pretty sure we all know he'd kill for one more match. Brother! Number 4, Mick Foley. Despite how we've established that wrestling retirements rarely last, there are very few wrestlers who have lasted such a small amount of time as Mick Foley. The hardcore legend seems to have retired almost as much as his mentor, who I'm not going to name because he's number 1, but has expressed his regret at returning from his initial retirement in 2000 after just 4 weeks, and we can see why. Coaxed into the return through a promise of a WrestleMania moment he could achieve at the coming WrestleMania 16 by the way, Foley's retirement at the hands of Triple H at Royal Rumble 2000 was made null and void almost instantly, only briefly giving Triple H the rub he needed and creating a sense of distrust between Foley and his legions of fans. Foley returns would quickly become an inevitability we'd grow used to, with returns against Evolution, Randy Orton, Edge, and even in WWE ECW, as well as a run as TNA champion in 2008. Many of which became the sort of memorable post-retirement matches wrestlers can only wish for, making him not only one of the most prolific wrestlers to never stay retired, but also one of the most memorable. Number 3, Shawn Michaels. Until very, very recently, Shawn Michaels' return from his initial retirement in the late 90s was the ultimate tale to tell of never say never in the wrestling industry. The multi-time WWE champion had gone out in the main event of WrestleMania in 1998, and after battling personal demons as well as a broken back, the Heartbreak Kid would return as the Heartbreak middle-aged man in the early 2000s, for a run many have considered to be as strong, if not stronger, than his original. A born-again Christian in his second run, Michaels was apparently a very good influence on the locker room and didn't hesitate to help put over younger guys when asked to, establishing a legacy of being an all-round top bloke as well as an all-time great in-ring performer. His is the career that features probably the most high-profile and enjoyable collection of matches post-retirement out of anyone on this list, with matches versus Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, and The Undertaker at WrestleMania being some of the best of all time at the pay-per-view. He did, of course, retire again in 2010 following a match with The Undertaker, but never say never. Number 2, Daniel Bryan. Has there ever been a tale of coming out of retirement so uplifting? Have you ever seen a return in any sport to be met with such universal goodwill? Daniel Bryan had his career taken from him way too early, and having not yet hit his 37th birthday, it seems that he still has a lot left in his tank. He may not even be in his prime yet. Just imagine Bryan versus AJ on pay-per-view. Bryan versus Balor. Bryan versus Nakamura. Imagine Bryan versus Angle. Bryan versus Rollins. Bryan versus Owens, Zayn, or Samoa Joe. Sorry, I'm getting too excited. Welcome back, Daniel. Number 1, Terry Funk. Of course it is. Having come out of retirement approximately 6 million times, it seems only appropriate to end with the effervescent, maniacal, and one-time chainsaw-wielding Terry Funk. Having wrestled for around 50 years, the younger of the Funk brothers won his first NWA World Championship in 1975 and wrestled his last match, as of this recording, in September 2017, aged 73. To many a WWE fan, Funk will be a remnant of ECW's glory days, or Mick Foley's WWF Raw is War friend-turned-foe Chainsaw Charlie. Some may remember him as the old guy falling from a ladder through a barbed wire table at ECW One Night Stand 2. The thing is, people said Funk was too old during all of these runs, yet he's still here today doing obscene things to his body for the love of the game. If anyone sums up what it's like to grow addicted to the industry, it's Terry Funk. Crazy old man in the ring, nice, albeit uncertain man outside of it. So that's our list. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and you can follow me on Twitter here. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.